Today we're using this Winnie the Pooh postcard as reference and color it like this. Let's get started. This is the coloring book I'm using for this series. From the start you can see colored versions of each illustration, background story explaining who Winnie the Pooh is, and a mini lesson on how to color. Now these are actually postcards, so on the back there's some space to write. So I'm thinking of writing a Winnie the Pooh saying and my own message behind each postcard. So if you're interested in getting this book, I've left a link in the description below. Anyway, I actually got this as a gift from my mom, and somehow I figured it would be a nice care package for her. I don't really have any plans to make these cohesive or make it seem like one big project, just to enjoy coloring and going back to my Prismacolor pencils. Speaking of Prismacolor pencils, it's been so long since I've used them. And I bought a few coloring books at my local bookstore here, so it's been something that's been in the back of my mind for a bit now. And I feel less pressure because it's not so big. I tried going back to colored pencils with a bigger coloring book, but it just felt like too much from the start, so this cute postcard version was a good choice, I feel. And I was really happy to use my pencils again. It's not like digital art where colors are solid with no small white spaces. I really like that imperfect look where it's not completely finished, but you know the color's there. And there's a much less limited color selection, so I'm not as indecisive with that. However, I kind of forgot that if I mix certain colors together, like blue and yellow, you get green. I know, it sounds stupid, but in my defense, I've been doing digital art for a long time now with solid brushes, so yeah. Regardless, it was really fun and I finished really quickly to my surprise. I guess a few limitations help with speed. So let's talk about this piece. I went ahead and did some color tests on Procreate, but I had a pretty good idea of what vibe I wanted to do. I wanted to make a sunset vibe with a very limited color palette. If you have problems with color or if you're a beginner artist, it helps you to visually see what you have in mind and if it works. Anyways, here's what it looks like. Yes, it's not going to be exactly the same colors, but that's simply because, again, I had a lot more colors to choose from on Procreate versus the color pencils that I have in front of me. But I think they came out pretty close, and I'm happy with the results. As for this piece, I guess I don't have much to say, huh? It's pretty straightforward. You get some pencils and color it. Towards the end of the video, I do show you how I wrap this up with some stuff that I found in Daiso. That way, when my mom opens her package, it looks cute. Oh, but that sweet feeling of using Prismacolor pencils again. It was like going back to being a young student. A time when I had all the time in the world and no adult responsibilities. This was the first medium scratch at. The second one that I fell in love with and something that was easier to get at that time. You can still find Prismacolor today, but just not in Japan. They haven't hopped in that Prismacolor pencil train yet, unfortunately. But yeah, my first material were crayons, the second one was color pencils. Hey, that's a good question. What materials did you start out with? Did you use good old pencil and paper? I'm really curious because I feel like young people today have much more options than when I was a kid. I think when I started high school, that's when I started using digital a little bit. I remember we had a computer, a company computer from my mom's job, and it had Photoshop on it. So I just messed around with it and see what I could make. And we had a printer that included a scanner too. So I would scan my drawings and then color it in Photoshop with a mouse because either there weren't any drawing tablets or I just didn't know they existed. But either way, it was super tedious, and I think that's the time when I pumped out so many sketches. And I still have all those sketchbooks. I always carried one with me to school, and sometimes during lunch break, I would draw in my sketchbook on a table all alone, but I tried to hide it because I still was really shy. I've always been a shy kid. So yeah, tell me, what did you start out with? Another question, was there anything at first that you didn't like? Something that you weren't keen on? I know for me, it was watercolor and chalk. Okay, so story time. I had just moved to America, and it was so cool to have art class in school, something that I didn't have. But sometimes the teacher just gave us too much freedom. Let me explain. What I mean by that is, okay, so she would give us some watercolor paint. You know those really cheap tray things? And then she would tell us that watercolor is really fluid and is soft, so that the theme of that day was ocean. And being from the Caribbean, I thought, what the f? There's so much to an ocean. Should I draw fish? Should I draw a coral reef? Should I draw a deep blue ocean or a light blue ocean or one with a lot of leaves? Do you want me to draw a beach? There was just so many things in my head, and I remember that I just looked at what my classmates were doing and just copied their idea. Yep, I copped out because I didn't know what she wanted. As for chalk, it's just so messy, and I don't like washing my hands 4 or 5 times within a few minutes because, you know, your hands get really dry. Plus, it gets on your clothes. I also have allergies, so I always touch my face and scratch my nose. It's just too messy for me. And I didn't like walking out of the art room with chalk on my face and clothes. Don't get me wrong, I like how both of these mediums look now, and if you've seen my previous videos or follow me on Instagram, you know that I'm very keen on watercolor and I use it more, but just not chalk. So using these Prismacolor pencils felt so nice. Sure, I forgot how colors mix with this medium, but I was really happy and it felt like I was a kid again. I felt like I knew what I was doing and I didn't really question it. From the start, I was looking at my reference photo from Procreate that I showed you earlier, just to know what colors I needed to use. But at some point, I just stopped looking and went with it. I was on a roll with Pooh, and even recording this felt like a breeze. It made me that much more excited to do the rest of this book and show it all to you guys. To be honest, I still don't feel too comfortable recording. I don't mind the editing, but I'm just not that confident or that, how can I say? Yeah, comfortable with recording. I'm still kind of meh about it. But doing this postcard with Winnie the Pooh felt really nice and it felt really fun. Now here, I forgot to color his nose. So I went back to color his nose, if you didn't notice that. If you did notice, congrats for you. Kudos for you. Slay, yes. And then I continue with the line work. So that was another thing that I wanted to add to this postcard, was to make some of the lines a little bit thicker because I felt like everything was soft and nothing was really popping out to you. It was just kind of one thing all together. And I wanted certain things to look like they were closer or just separate from other items, like the scarf being separate from the door or the door being separate from the trees, etc. Yeah, otherwise, in the end, it looks really good. I just loved it. So, because I don't really have anything in particular to say from this point on, I'm just going to see you at the end card. Yeah, let's do that. Oh wait, I do have something to say. So I'm thinking of posting these maybe bi-monthly or once a month because it takes at least 2 weeks to send such a little tiny package to Chicago. So let's see how that works out first. I can't make any promises, but for now, I'm just gonna try twice a month or once a month. So I guess this will kind of be a side series, and if you like Winnie the Pooh, because this is just only Winnie the Pooh and his friends. And here you have the finished piece. I like that crayon pencil looking look. Look at the tree, look at the Pooh, look at that bush, the bell. And those are some of the things that I included in my package. So I have the Winnie the Pooh, where I put in these 2 pieces of thin cardboard, and then I taped it with washi tape. Then I wrapped it in this, which I don't know what it is. It's wrapping paper here. I used this sticker and this other one to kind of seal it. And then I used a ribbon. I don't know, it looked cute. Then I put my 2 envelopes in this paper bag because, again, it just fits the theme. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you liked what you see, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I love you. See you. Bye.